Welcome to Founders Hub, where entrepreneurs share insights, strategies, and startup success stories. I'm your host, Yohan Alcide. Join us to explore entrepreneurship, learn from experts, and uncover business secrets. Sometimes too many cooks in the kitchen can actually be. I know the idea is, let me build a team, let me have this person, that person. Sometimes more is actually detrimental. So picking the really strategic people, and I want to hone in on picking because a lot of the time funding is an issue. A lot of the time networking is an issue. We don't necessarily have the people that in our network to do the things that we need. And that was actually my problem. One of my biggest issues was lack of network, lack of knowing who can do this. And I had to reach out and utilize social media in multiple different ways to find my team, and convincing them that I'm the person to back. And they loved the idea. The idea for them was an easy sell. So once I understood I had to actually sell this, me, the person I look in the mirror every day, that was the pinnacle change of how I structure when I work with a team. All right, y'all. Welcome to the first episode of Founders Hub, navigating startup takeoff. So yeah, I want to kick off the conversation today. We're talking about the journey into startup, the world of sharing what founders and each kind of founders moment. So I want to give you guys a snapshot from my experience and basically go into a little breakdown on my little journey of becoming a startup founder. And I say little because I really still feel like a novice, and just building this space. Hopefully we can find like minds and grow together. So when actually having the idea for Rent a Park came to me, actually curiously, because I wanted to do van life, right? I never intended on becoming a tech founder. I had the idea because of a solution to a concern that I had about van life, right? And then fast forward 2019, I actually found myself homeless, and I was sleeping in my car for 30 days. And in that time, I was always like, gosh, if my app idea was actually out, everything would be a little easier for me right now because I could find a place, I could pay to park, I feel safe. It could be a residential area. I don't know. That was what my brain, and I was like, I made a promise to myself in 2019 it was, and that once I get back on my feet, I'm actually going to launch this app. I'm going to build this thing. And so 2020 came around, and then, early 2020, COVID hit, and the world kind of went through a crisis. And during that crisis, everybody was panicked about being locked down and not able to work. And while everyone was going crazy, I found myself smiling, literally almost like a cackle internally, because the world suddenly told me I could build this and not have to worry. And so that's what I did. I studied my ass off. I constantly spent day and night researching founders and tech startups and understanding strategies, pitch decks, what it is like scaling a tech company, right? I needed to know everything there was to know about becoming a founder. And in 2021, I launched a beta version of Rent a Park, and we're actually close to launching version 2 this year. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about my background into becoming a founder. And yeah, if anyone wants to share a little bit about them and what they found, their founding moment was like. Because again, just to recap to those that just joined, I'm trying to build a community of founders so we can lean on each other, advice when needed, because as y'all all know, this journey is rough. Okay. If everybody could do it, everybody would. And clearly they're not. So I'm trying to do that. So if you guys, let me know who wants to go. Chris, what's your story of being, your founding moments?
Dang. So first, props for sharing your story. I didn't know that some of the background that you shared is kind of how that all kicked off. Mine started off in rocky start as well. And yeah, if you don't mind, I'll share the story here. But so far, I'd say I'm still kind of in the weeds of it. But so I spent my early adult years as a public servant in the Air Force. So I didn't have the whole like mentality of business or anything like that to like be a requirement at all in anything I did. Like it was just like a hobby that I had on the side to learn about those things. And then towards the end of my time there, I realized I wanted to do something in technology. And specifically, I knew I wanted to do something with augmented reality and educational environments. And I jumped off at 10 years to go and study computer science. And so, mind you, this was like in the military, you can do 20 years and have a full retirement with healthcare and everything for the rest of your life. And so it was like at that halfway point, I was like, oof, do I keep going and do this, or do I jump off and chase a dream? And so I was like, all right, well, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't have any connections. I'm not socially like connected or anything. It's just all my friends were in the military, and I was just leaving that whole world behind. And so, luckily, my wife was there to back me up with the whole support, and I was like, all right, cool. So I jumped off and I went studying full time. And funny that I went for like a tech degree thing, because like I went back and it was like remedial algebra. Like I had to go all the way back as like whatever I'd lost in 10 years of not really studying it. Just like it was pretty much so far back that I was just like, I had cheese holes on everything. And I was like, all right, I need to refill my math foundation. So I started from remedial algebra and I ended up in like graduating with honors, with like linear algebra and multivariable calculus and stuff. And that gave me the feel of like, okay, I can learn stuff. So it's not so much like, that I'm so far behind that I wouldn't. And then I kind of made the mistake of not realizing that also to get to where I needed to go, it wasn't just learning the technical skill, but it was like this whole other world of like finance and business. And then on top of that, just the whole psychological, like I guess like tool set that you got to have to build your own fortitude, to have resilience when things go bad, to not be a yes man when you got to be a leader, and to know when to push back when someone's crossing boundaries that you can't allow to have crossed. And so the transition from military to civilian was a trip. Then from employee to like entrepreneur, I think kind of added to it. And so my journey kind of took me through this whole pathway through different media type. So when I started as a hobbyist working on stuff while I was still in the service, I played around with Photoshop, and then I kind of messed around with video. And then once I got out, I did video full time, photography as a service, and that worked well. Then COVID hit, so I was doing, that was my plan. I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. I got out in 2016. I finished my college time 2018. And so I was like, all right, cool. I've got programming and math down. I can just focus on what I'm going to do next. And what I did next was like, I was trying to figure out a lot of media stuff. And I thought that was going well, shooting events and stuff. And COVID hits, all events shut down. And suddenly I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, what's happening? Like, what do I do with these skills? I can't shoot in front of anybody because we're all isolated. And at that point is when I kind of like started realizing, okay, well, I've had this media production thing that I've been doing, and it's not limited to only what I can shoot in front of me. There's 3D aspects of what this can kind of turn into. And so during the lockdown, I decided like, all right, well, it's time to do 3D full time. And that was paired with kind of like what I'd seen as a need when I was in college, and as I left the Air Force with the whole visual education thing. And I thought like, oh, it would be a great time to start creating the visual assets that I wished existed for like math and other like abstract topics like science that really kind of don't do well in just like a 2D version. And so I thought like, maybe if I spent that time during COVID lockdown just focusing on that, like I could do something with that in the future. And so I did that full time during the lockdowns, and then once all that was over and things started to change, I decided to kind of like try to apply that somewhere. And I thought my like my natural tendency towards like where I was going to put it was metaverses. And so I kept working at trying to make that tech work in there. And it was just like running into walls and running into walls. And then I realized like, okay, well, this isn't working because I'm still learning so much. So I gotta like keep running into a few more walls while I do this. And so I shifted and I pivoted where I was trying to publish over and over and over. And eventually I figured the place where it was like the the layers under the layers under the layers under the layers that kind of gave me the place that I was trying to go to. And so I just focused on that, and I've been focusing on that since. And so I'm still trying to land it, and I'm still trying to figure out like, you know, the way forward. Um, but what I have now is the laser focus of like where I'm trying to take it, and sort of where this technology that I'm using is going into the future. And so with that, it's like I applaud the ones who are navigating the startups successfully because I am definitely not. I just got out of a year where I was in a really toxic relationship with a co-founder, and and then I was, as soon as I got out of it, I started getting what's it called, invitations to jump into other ones, and it almost felt like ending a bad dating relationship and realizing like I needed to heal before jumping into another one that was also toxic. And
So, Chris, can I ask you a
yeah,
question?
of course.
So, where are you currently today? Are you at the early stages of being a founder, or have you already launched fully?
No, no. So I'm like at the, I would say like the pre-stages of launching. And actually, I'm happy Kimberly is here today because she watched the me asking like a horribly dumb question just based on how far back I still am. So I'm really here mostly like still learning, but I'm like in that transition between like I was a really good employee and I know the tech, but I'm definitely so far behind in business, and that's where I'm still like my learning journey is still in like catching up what I've done in tech, but like on the business side.
Awesome. So, for those just to reset the room, hi, Kimberly. Great having you here. I definitely want everyone else to have an opportunity to speak. I earlier started off with giving my founder moment and where that was. And so there was a little insight. You guys are going to have to catch that on the replay. I apologize. I definitely don't want to bore you with that again. And so what I'm doing right now is to allow each of our speakers an opportunity to share their founder moment. Like, what was your founding moment when you became a founder? Because I think it's pinnacle to where we're trying to go. And I believe that my story isn't done yet, but it's going to be an epic one. Love
Yeah,
that.
and sorry, I was gonna just tell WhiZ, I wasn't in here when you came in, WhiZ. I actually came in because I saw you and Yohan. So just kind of an ironic moment. I saw you, Yohan, and Chris and Cyrus, and I thought, oh wow, like that's a interesting time because you don't usually get that um, intimate moment with that group of people. So I'll tell you my founder's moment. I in 2000 and let's see, 12, got a divorce. I had been a stay-at-home mom, so I got married at 21, been going to college. I'd been working for an economic development firm, all of those things. And then I got pregnant and I was married already. We actually owned our own house already. So at a very young age, I was in this like life of grown up. And I started working for Martha Stewart Crafts so I could stay home with my two children because I had two within 2 years, and they weren't planned, but they weren't exactly accidental because I think obviously it'd be taking more precautions than what we were. But we went on about our life. I was a Mormon at the time. My husband was a politician, and then further I went on into crafting, and then I went on to TV shows that were about crafts and like kind of like TLC and um, Craft Networks and Discovery Channel, stuff like that. And then was doing sort of a morning show. And I then got married to a famous musician, famous in his world of rock like music, and just became a photographer, not just became a photographer and rode that out. After that divorce, I found myself in this now you are like officially finding yourself. So 21 to 30, I hadn't been finding myself. I was finding myself as a mother, But finding yourself as a mother is different than finding yourself also as a person in the grand scheme of life. So we had moved to Seattle because my kid's dad had transferred up there and we co-parented very well. And he was like, I just can't keep, looking for jobs in Texas. They don't have much in tech. So I can get a job in Seattle. And I said, oh my gosh, yeah, that's exciting to move on. But man, that's going to be a crazy adjustment. And it ended up being a really trying time for me because Texas is very low cost of living. And it was very high cost of living, 70% higher cost of living than what I was used to. But I still moved up there because I wanted the kids to have both parents, and we went up there, and, I just couldn't afford, like, basic necessities over just life. So I could, rent, food, gas, going to work, and that was it. In San Antonio, I had a network of people, and I knew people that could put me in jobs and help out because I'd built years there. Seattle, no one knew me, which was a blessing and a curse. I absolutely loved that no one knew me because everywhere I went, I wasn't the lady on TV. I wasn't someone's ex-wife. It was great. On the other side, it was really, I was in just the regular world of having to find a job and figure it out and do what I needed to do. So I traded services in order for me to be a part of like, those like Chamber of Commerce things that you pay fees to. There was a women's league. And I thought, well, if I want to learn how to be an entrepreneur, I want to learn from women that are at the top of the top. So I got into the Rainier Women's League because Bill Gates, at the time, there was no drama, so I don't know about anything about how people feel about people now, but this was just 10 years ago. So Melinda Gates was a part of that group, and I knew anybody around that group probably had high standards of their business. So I traded doing public speaking for my fees. So they would have me come and talk on creative, like being a creator. WhiZ called me out the other day on the timeline, totally caught me talking about posting like 20 photos a day on Instagram. That used to be me. So I spoke about how the world of being a creator would be great for single moms, marginalized communities, people who didn't really have side hustle abilities. This would be great. So after a couple of months of speaking, I started getting more personal with my talks. And then just to fast forward here, one day there was like a competition and I won like most compassionate speaker of the year from this league. And a woman walks up to me and she says, "Hi, so I'm Melinda Gates' assistant." Okay, and she's like, "So she was wondering, have you ever filled out an application for one of their grants because they gave grants through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation?" And I was like, "No." I just feel like nobody gets those. It's like the lottery. And she was like, okay, well, you should go do that. And I was like, yeah, I'm like a single mom. I have to catch three different buses every morning to get my kids to school, three buses to get them back. I have no time to just like try to put a lottery out there. And again, I'm autistic, so my social cues were not picking up on that. She was like, no, you should really fill out one of those forms. And I was like, yeah, I really just don't have time for that. I appreciate the advice. I'm thinking she's just giving me advice. And she's like, so, okay, how do I put this? I really need you to fill out one of those forms, okay? So that we can give you that thing that people get. And I was like, oh, okay. So I ran home, I got home that night, did the kids, put them to bed, baths, all that. And I was so tired. And I had to fill out this whole thing. What is a business plan? What would you like to do? And I was like, I'm Googling what a business plan is, y'all. I didn't know what a business plan was, what it entailed. I didn't know what like being a founder was. I didn't know what a startup was. I'm Googling every part of a pitch deck, I mean, all of it. So I'm just Googling it, putting the pieces together, filling this thing out. I stay up 8 hours, fill it all out, because I knew I'd have to go to work the next day, and then life would get crazy and into the weekend. So I put this stuff together last minute and I sent it to them, and they write back and she's like, It's just horrible." And I was like, I know, but thanks for trying." She's like, "No, you're getting the grant." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." She's like, "But it's horrible. Your business plan is horrific. Like it sucks and you got to change that. So we're going to put you in a mentor program." And I was like, "Okay." She's like, "Cuz the idea itself is wonderful. Like we love the idea. She loves the idea. Everybody wants to back you." So what I had was a plan to have a women's center. That was sort of self-improvement center, sort of like the WeWorks and the area co-working spaces, collaborative spaces, co-ops. I wanted a women's center that had wall-to-wall bookshelves of any type of information that you could learn. Coding, self-improvement, whatever it was, they would be able to check out books. And then I wanted like 10 iMac computers, 10 PC computers, so that women could come in, also learn to code and or do creator stuff. So in one area we would have a place for podcasting and also taking photos. And then there was also couches, so they could either spend $50 a month just to come in and use the Wi-Fi, sit on the couches, network, and then I would bring other people in. This was way before online courses and all of that. This was like 2012, 2013. We would bring other people in to do classes Monday nights, Wednesday nights, Friday nights on all these topics that would help the women in the community. And we would charge the women that could pay for their fees, like it would be a sliding scale, so that we could allow scholarships for the women who couldn't. Because I was a single mom and, I didn't have that kind of money. And so I really, really wanted these scholarships. So we put that together. I rented my first space. It went great. People donated a bunch of books. We had a furniture place donate the couches. We had, of course, Bill Gates, gave us the computers. And then we got some people from Mac that also gave iPads and some, um, what do you call it? The laptops. So we had those set up, and we had a little coffee shop because I was like, it'd be great to have some sort of revenue in there as well. So we had a coffee shop that was attached, being that it was Seattle. People love their coffee shops. So we did that, and I founded my first women's space. This is one of the things that not a lot of people know about me. I don't share this one often, but there are 6 of them now in some of the major cities and 3 smaller cities. So 3 in major cities and 3 in some smaller cities. And that's why I go back to San Antonio quite a bit. So San Antonio houses our second one. So the first one was in Seattle. The second one is in San Antonio. I have since sold off a large percentage of. I'm a percentage holder now, because they run it. They run it well. It's now a franchise, so people can now buy the blueprint of this center and they can recreate it, and I get money from that. That's what I really wanted the rights for, and they've turned these into men's centers. We've done teenage centers. We've done some people that have religious connections, some people that they want to make it a spirituality center. Some are just for coding. So we've been able to make, when I say that I've done a lot in the founding space, I mean that this was my baby. So we took that, and that was my first founding story because someone took a chance on this little picture that I had, and now it's become this bigger picture. And I actually don't make money on the centers, right? So I don't really take money from the teachers. They get 100% of their whatever tickets they sell when they come to teach. They get 100% of those. I get my money in the blueprint of the franchise. So when we sell another franchise and we open another, then I get a percentage of not only the blueprint, but I get a percentage of their company. So I get like a 5% percentage, and sometimes up to 20, depending on where it is. So that's how I've built that out, and it's my hope that it's going to catch on when I get a little bit more time. I had a few hiccups with these little bee cancer scares that I went through, but it's my hope that we'll be able to move further into innovative space and do even bigger things where we can have a broader, more compound collective. Some of our buildings have been getting built bigger. They have multi-levels. We're moving from the spaces not just being tech anymore. Now they're tech and mindfulness spaces. So we've combined tech and mindfulness, and we now give out a total of 120 scholarships, where we started with 20. So I'm really excited about that now, because we get women who come in, and there's a staffing, 4 people on staff. So we have 4 different types of coaches. So when a woman comes in and says, I would like to coach with someone, we do an assessment and then we place them with the coach, or they may be placed with all 4. And their roadmap is you're going to go 2 months with this one, 2 months with that one, 2 months with her, and 2 months with him. So they get like, 8 months of the direction from all four coaches, or maybe just one. So that's been great too. And I hope that this continues. I hope people continue to make these spaces where people can, in real life, and there's a ton of this stuff online, Facebook groups and ways that you can go and like be in communities. But I was hoping 10 years ago, and I'm seeing it happen now, that in real life, people would show up, start building connections. And that is when I started to see people start founding companies together. And that's been really beautiful. So I'll land my plane by saying I only entered as a founder during that time, but I've been able to be an angel investor or be a sort of a background quiet partner in a lot of businesses that are pre-vetted because of these small little, you know, what do you call it? Um, Centers. So I get to go, I get to watch, I get to explore what these women are doing. And then if I think that they'll do well, I go ahead and offer up some funding. And so far I've exited two of those companies, and then two more I'm still involved in, and I still get payouts. So I just want to say you never know how big it can go. And maybe as sometimes people are focusing outward into the internet work and stuff like that, maybe it's time that some of us start looking back into building things in our communities so that we can start connecting in real life in person as well. So thanks for letting me share that story.
No, thanks for sharing it. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad to have you on the stage, and then just actually getting to know your story, it more impactful for me, because obviously going down this journey, it feels so isolating, right? And that's why I developed the Founders Hub, because I'm tired of the isolation. I think with great minds, we kind of need to bounce off of people. So hearing that, it gives me drive and the ability to want to continue to get to where you got to. And if you hear my child in the background, forgive me. She's 2.5, y'all. I can't control her. I wish I
No,
could.
that's what we want to see. That's what I want to see. I don't want any apologies for kids in the background. If mama is on here talking about inspiring founders at your level, I want to know that your daughter is watching that. I want to know that the information she's picking up is that and not the Real Housewives of New Jersey, right?
No,
And then
100%.
lastly, because I see Wiz's hand, thank you for holding a founders hub and creating a community for that, because not all of us want to go and be a part of, where some of these higher ups that are, $250 million founders are talking. They're talking in places that are way over people's heads at times, and we can't have these kinds of conversations in there because they're like, this is a waste of time. I've been in there before, and on the back channel, they're like, this is a waste of time. Let's move it on. I want to move on to bigger things. And I'm like, no, I want to hear people's stories. I want to hear where they're having troubles. I want to connect. I want to find out if these are my people. So thank you, Johan, for creating like an actual community at a level that you can say, I may not be perfect and I may be new, but I know that there's a need for people to connect. So that's why I jumped in here.
Thank you. And Wiz, go ahead, honey.
Yeah, and that will be the last thing I say before I slide on out of here. Like I said, I was just skimming by. I'm glad that I stuck around long enough to hear this story, and to be honest, I'm in a very interesting position because, like I was mentioning earlier, I've always been in this simply because I have an inherent passion for technology and tinkering with things. And as I scaled, or rather, as I got more intimately familiar with the industry, it occurred to me that people that look like me are not exactly at the forefront. And I never really cared at first, to be honest, but the more I did explore things, the more it bothered me. And I couldn't really put my finger on to why until fairly recently. I think the quote I'm about to say is like a basic paraphrasing, but it goes something along the lines of the evils of capitalism is that you'll never get to meet the hundreds of Einsteins that could have been. Essentially hinting at the fact that Einstein is not the only one that could have been Einstein, simply because of the fact that there are many people that are born in different places or have lesser access to things that could have been at that same level, if not performing at a higher level, and yet you never really hear from them. And recently I found this founder slash tech guy called Kelsey Hightower. I'm supposing for those that are really deep into the tech stuff, he's like a staple of this whole scene. And he made a thread discussing his personal experience from a perspective of being a black man in a position that gets you a lot of attention, working at a big company like Google and whatnot. And he talks a lot about this idea that for him, being able to being able to be transparent about what it's really like in these industries, I think that was a refreshing take to hear from somebody. Because typically you're told that tech is just about the job, right? That you just get in there, you get your stuff done, and you go home, make a six-figure paycheck, and that's that. But clearly, he begs to differ. Like someone like him, even someone of his position who has essentially climbed all the way up to the corporate ladder, was telling people on Twitter, it's not really what you think it is. And that it took me a long time to internalize, the lessons from that experience. So personally, that has led me to revise my enthusiasm, for lack of a better term, when it comes to this industry. Not because I don't feel welcomed, not because I don't feel like there's not enough people like me, but simply because I think there are better ways to change the world, and I'm not going to change it by being alongside people who could not care less about me or where I come from. And that's not to say that every tech person thinks like that. It's just an observation I've made time and time again where I've gone to conferences, and for context, like large language models have popped up fairly recently, but I've been going to like pretty niche like local conferences for quite a while now, and same thing for blockchain. And every time I show up in the room, people like would always question why I was there, and yeah, um, not exactly a great note to end on, but I'm staying motivated though in terms of what I'm doing and what I'm working on, and staying secure in the fact that actually there's plenty of people that share my enthusiasm. I'm at a place right now where I'm much more comfortable existing into the world, and my existence apparently disturbs a lot of minds and a lot of souls. So does Kimberly's, and that's all I'm gonna say on that one. Thanks for the time, and yeah, I'ma catch y'all around.
Yeah, thanks, WhiZ. Appreciate you showing up. And if you wanted to catch my story, it's at the beginning of this, so forgive me, y'all. Cyrus, you had your hands up. I'm patiently waiting. Please.
Hi,
I was
everybody.
gonna, Johan, before Cyrus went, I was just gonna tell everybody that I put who was talking about into the Jumbotron so they could follow along with that, just so we didn't lose the coherency. Hey Cyrus, sorry to interrupt you.
No worries. Hey, Yohan. Hi, Kimberly. Hi, Chris. I'm gonna say like this. I'm sorry that you feel like when you go to a tech conference, something that you feel like you don't fit there. I'm gonna tell you my story, and I'm a really private person, but I feel like it. This story might give people a different view on actually the how a tech person like me that has passion for tech. So the thing is that I will go really quick with my story so that people get a background on it. I got my first computer when I was 9 and started coding when I was 12. My first website on HTML. I'm 39 years old now. And then when I got to like 15 years, I felt like, okay, I can code websites that look like crap, but I want to make them beautiful. So if people that back at then know what Too Advanced was. That was a company that literally made extremely good websites in Macromedia Flash and ActionScript and everything for huge companies like Ford, Lamborghinis, all of those. So I felt like that's where I want to be. So at age 15, I started to create websites and stuff for friends and families. And that just got me like, because it's easy to be in a place where you feel I can create a website that just for me it's good, but as soon as you put yourself out in a comfort zone, that's when you start to like really grow. So I did that just to push myself a lot. And then I felt like when I was like 15, 16, like, okay, I know what I want to be, but what am I bad at? It was marketing. So I went for school to marketing, 3 years in school for marketing, got a degree on that. And then I went on to the real world. And the first job that I got was in, of course, an agency, and we created really cool stuffs with Macromedia Flash and everything. And then I went on to like, you know what? I know that a lot of businesses at that time, a website costed a lot. So it was nothing that small businesses could afford. And so I had this whole mindset, you know what? I'm going to find businesses, offer them the same quality that an agency would create to huge people, to huge companies, but offer them that for one of like a 50 of the cost. Why? Because I just feel like I want to give small companies a chance to get the same value that huge companies, just like level the place. So I did that as like on my free time as a hobby, just continued doing that. Find company that wanted to have something, did that, and just continued doing that. Then later on, I went on to making, how can I say, I went on to, into this whole tech. So I got job and everything, consultant, all that things. And I think I have like, what is it, more than 25 years of experience in both coding and design. And then I got to a whole point where I felt like, you know what? Yes, I'm in this place where I can code and I'm good at it and I love it because this is my passion. And for me, this is like a superpower. It's just strange for me that you live in a world where you're literally surrounded by tech, but people can program. So that's when I felt like, you know what? I'm going to make sure and take on one person at a time and try to teach them code. So what I did was I looked into my friends, and my little brother's friend, he works as a driving instructor. He never into coding. So he said, you know what? I can't do this my whole life. It's boring. I can't do anything like, yeah, try coding. So I told him once every week we will have a session 3 hours for 6 months, and we will continue doing that. The only thing that I want from you is that you spend 1 hour a day coding, because that's one way to hack your brain, is to force yourself to do it, because your brain will go like this: why is this person doing this every hour or every day, 1 hour a day? Because your brain needs only gonna learn things if it needs to survive. That's the only way to do it. But if you continue telling your brain, I'm gonna sit here every hour consistently doing this every day, once hour, your brain will go, you know what? This person is crazy. Let's just learn this, and then that person will stop doing this. That's a way to hack your brain. Consistently doing 1 hour of the thing you want to do every day, and after a month, see if you will be better at that. So I told my friend that do that. That's the only thing I want. 1 hour every day you sit and code. If you have any question, DM me or call me. We will have a session, go over the concept that you have a hard time to understand. So we did that, and after 6 months, he landed a front-end job at Access Communication, the international company that makes network cameras. And then later on, I felt like, okay, this went well. Then I had another friend of mine that worked as a master painter. And he said, I can't do this my whole life. This will break my body. And of course, here I come. You should learn how to code. That's like what I always said to people. And so he felt like, yeah, but I need to get like an education. And I said, yeah, take like a 2-year crash course. And he said, yeah, but I don't think I would fit in because they require some base knowledge. So what I told him was, you know what? For the next 2 years, I will help you every week, 3 hours every week. We will go over this, but I want you to code every day for 1 hour. We did that, and he graduated and got a job at PayX in Sweden is like a payment transaction company, really huge in Sweden. So he got a job there after 2 years, and he literally wrote me like 2 days ago saying it is so crazy that when he went to the interview, he nailed the interview. Even if he was a junior, he nailed it really bad. Why? Because I told him that if you're going to do this, you're going to be extremely good. We're going to cover a lot of things. And that's the thing, like, I feel like, for me, it's a passion. So now, throughout my whole life, I always have created stuffs for me to see how hard can it be to create it. And then, like, the last year, I felt, you know what, I'm going to go into this and create something that I can help people, like, save time. So that's when I created a company, DevMany LLC, last year. And then I felt like, okay, I'm going to focus on this and push this through. Because if I don't do it now, I will never do it. And if I fast forward to now from a year ago, me and eye doctor, we are creating a service that has AI in it, because I feel it's a great time to be alive when you have this AI technology that you can utilize. Because AI for me is something that will improve yourself so that you earn more time. That's what AI is for me, and it will enhance you as a person. So we have like, what is it, 2 weeks maybe before we're going to launch it. And that's like, of course it is a huge step for me, going from, I just have a paycheck that I get every month, I do my work and everything, but going from, I'm going to do this and then give it everything I have and then see where it goes off. And we had like a couple of beta testers that tried it and they really loved it, so I felt like, okay, this is a good thing. So the whole thing is like, this is the backstory that I have, and I have looked into this whole founder, and like, there's something called Build in Public on X, where you are people that get together and like show what you're building, everything. The only downside of that is, of course, there was something called Steal in Public. So people that I was one part, like, I started to show what I was creating, but then I got the feeling like, felt like somebody's gonna steal this. And that's, for me, was like, I'm gonna stop doing the Build in Public part. And then I've found this founders hub, and I felt like, you know what, I'm gonna go into this and give my experience on the whole thing. And connection is everything, because if you look at this, how in the world would we that are in this space connect if we were only being locally? So we have this whole device and technology that we can connect with people that are like-minded. So that's what I'm gonna say, like, always look at it, how can I if I'm not happy where I am, how can I change that? One way is to see, where are the things that I have this goal, and if I need to get there, what is the things I need to do? What are the things I need to learn? I've done that my whole life, because I'm having this whole thing that I feel like I need to be able to go hit the goal. I need to learn the things I need to be able to do that. That's like a craftsmanship. I'm going to create a car. What do I need to learn? Everything like this. Okay, then I take one step and learn it. So that's like my whole story. So it's fun to be a founder, and of course it's a challenge, because this is my first time founding something. I have created all the stuff personally for myself, never released it. So it is a journey that starts, and it feels like 2024 is going to be a real promising year, because it feels like it started really good with every connection that you get. So I'm just going to say that, and thank you guys.
No, thanks so much, Cyrus. And just to let you know, Kimberly's phone needed to restart, so she'll be back. Whenever she gets back, she'll probably chime in wherever we're at. Chris, you have anything to say before we move on to segment 2? Because I really want to delve into challenges. We've talked about the founding moments, right? Because it's pinnacle to our stories, but there are challenges. Let's not make a fairy tale of this thing. This thing's hard. Chris, if you want to start, and then we can go from there. I mean, I know you're still in your infant stages, but I'm pretty sure you've come across a few challenges in your journey, whether it's only recent or not.
Yeah, so I've had like probably a good, I'd say 16-month go at it the first go around, where it was like an actual business between more than just myself. Because I'd ran businesses before this, but it was like um, a lot of what like Cyrus was mentioning, where it's like I had the inkling of like since I was like 12, I started messing with Photoshop, and so like between now and then, I remember like before YouTube came out, websites used to publish on Flash, and so that to me was like my YouTube of that era. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. How do I make that? And then it was learning the Flash Studio tool, but never really connecting it with the idea of like doing businesses. Like it was always like as a hobbyist. And so recently, the last year was a lot of like actual like business experiencing. And that was really challenging. There was a lot of moments where I realized either I wasn't prepared for that kind of um, like the dynamic of balancing a personality and understanding some of like the mistakes I made just from the foundation. Somebody mentioned um, the whole 50-50 problem where it's like, who's the leader then? How do you make a decision when something needs to definitely like land, but there's opposing opinions and they don't come together? So for my first challenge of that switch, um, it was understanding like when I tried transitioning into like, okay, this isn't a hobby anymore. I want to grow this, and I want to find help who can complement my skills. One of the first challenges I faced was misjudging um, my ability to say no when I needed to and quickly. And so that was, I think, one of the most unexpected business skills that I wasn't thinking had anything to do with what I was focusing on, because everything at that time was just focus on the tech, make awesome stuff, focus on the tech, focus on the tech, focus on the tech. And then it was almost like saying no to myself with the perfecting, where it's like it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to ship it and then show up in the next day and then ship again. And then that was another challenge where it was like, um, coming up with like, it was a lot of really like growing up internally that helped where I was going. Because one challenge I faced that I realized was just constantly like a recurring theme was after a while, um, having just a different mindset the with the co-founder and the clients that were coming in through that, where some of that old school mentality of like, well, I just want to see it done, was kind of coming in. So then I would show them a rough draft, and they didn't understand that there was a rough draft because they just didn't understand the way like tech development worked. And so I was like, okay, well, I either need more time to finish it to the point that you want to see it, or I need you to understand that this is a rough draft and there will be more attached to it in the future. And then like getting the feedback from that as like, oh, but I just want to see it finished, was kind of like pulling me back into the whole perfectioning cycle where it's like what I need to do is make it perfect now and then I'll never show it to anybody, and realizing how toxic those relationships were, and being able to like break out of that so I could go back into like, okay, it's not about making it that way for people who weren't even paying. Like it was people that they were just trying to impress because it was a connection with this other partner. And then realizing like, why am I working for free trying to impress somebody with a perfect thing that I'm killing myself over when this isn't working? Like it's not working for me. It's not even working for the client that we're trying to convince they want this thing. And that was a big piece of like my like realizing, okay, this has now reached a point where it shows no signs of improving. And I'm not going to try to change an adult's mentality of like what their business should be ran like. But I also don't want to feel like I'm attached to someone who doesn't understand what my business is, or what my personal side of the business is, and my contribution to it is, if it wasn't being valued. And that was a huge moment to be able to like step away and say like, okay, I know what I bring to the table, and I'm not going to sell myself short, and I'm not going to sell my future clients short by not creating the stuff that I could, because I'm trying to please someone who doesn't quite understand, who didn't do the years of learning the tech the way I did, um, understanding the people who have left culture through those pieces that developed us. Like the peanut butter jelly thing is an awesome example. Um, Everybody recognizes it, but it was from a time before videos. And so the people who remember how it actually came to be and how it was developed using a studio tool have like a slight different insight into it. And those little pieces add up. And so to everyone who's watching who's beginning to do a thing, I just want to kind of remind you that like as you're doing the thing right now, as you're watching AI become better and better, there's going to be a time where it's so different to what it is right now that it's just going to be like this was an era that passed. And to be able to understand the context of the culture while this was happening will give you something that you won't have once you try to get it into the future. Like you'll be reading history, but you won't have seen what actually it was like to live it and experience it. And so there's a lot of cool brands who are doing cool stuff right now. And to all the people who are trying to start something today, you're going to have those phases where you might be undervalued because some people don't understand what you're looking at. And only you will understand and you will know for yourself what you can create based on the things that inspired you today as you move forward into your creating years. And so I just wish everybody basically like to be able to listen to yourself when you start getting the signals that something's not working.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. Like, it's kind of amazing just to hear that because you've covered some of the areas that I've definitely struggled in, and I'm pretty sure I saw some hands go up, like a few of the people listening right now have definitely is familiar territory, right? The overcoming hurdles as a part of the startup journey is always something that most founders, I don't think there's been any founder that won't say there wasn't. I mean, I've listened to dozens of unicorns when they have their founders moment, the struggle in the beginning, right? And so for me, there's so many I could list, but I'm going to focus mainly on two today because one of them I learned last year and it was a very great learning curve for me. The struggle of being non-technical was really difficult because I always make the joke that if I could code, I would be a beast because with my vision and the way my brain actually functions, the things that go on in this head, if I could code it, I'd be dangerous, y'all. So
Serious will train you.
and so that was my biggest hurdle at first. But once I understood that I needed to figure out a way to build it, funny enough, the way I went about it, I didn't know anything about this. The way my brain functions, I was creating UIs and wireframes, not knowing what they were. so, um, so that was quite ironic when I first found, and I started off with this journey where I had contractors, bootstrapping, didn't know how to code, and I thought, okay, let me contract this out to get this done. And the wireframe, they were like quite shocked that I even knew what that was. And because my mind is usually a jumble mayhem, I also did what we call a mind mapping tool. So I use the mind mapping tool, which is actually the entire user interface structure. And as you techies know, this is actually something that is really beneficial to the coding process because you understand the user journey. And I had it all down. And that was just me mind mapping the functionality of the app, right? And so during this process of doing a contract, one of the biggest hurdles that I found that was an issue was the funding. And in 2023, I didn't have liquid anymore. Like life does what it does. Life be lifing, and I found myself the main breadwinner. Giving back a ring to the man I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with, and so I was like, shit, how am I going to complete this build? Where now the liquid that I had from my income cannot go to fund to build this. So pivot became the word for 2023 for me, and understanding that I wasn't leveraging my best asset, which was me. And once I understood how to leverage the strength of me executing this vision that I have, I was able to then strategize how to onboard my team. And so in about June or July of 2023, I found myself like, okay, I'm going to spend 2 weeks and I need to really hone in on building my team out. What is it that I needed? And as we speak today, we are a team of 8 strong. I don't know how, but we're there, and launch is literally a few short months away. And so I tell you guys this story because a lot of people don't realize that bootstrap companies statistically are 50, I think it's 56% more likely to survive. And as much as we're looking to raise funds in the future, I'm actually grateful because doing it this way, I learned so much being such a novice. And so that's a little bit about some of the challenges I've faced, and being able to pivot, because pivoting is going to be key with throughout this journey. Knowing how to pivot and pivot correctly is going to be an asset to your team and your company.
Definitely. I feel pivoting is like an active presence.
So what we're covering right now, just to give you a refresher for those that just joined us, we really just started off today with giving our founding moments and whatever that was for you becoming a tech founder. Um, and now we're on segment 2 where we're talking about overcoming launch obstacles and any hurdles that we may have faced, right? And so, Kimberly, that's where we're at. I shared a little bit of mine. So did Chris. And if you want to take it away, share something that you have. I'm pretty sure you currently, because I could say so many right now, because there's always a struggle. There's always a fire to put out, right? And so yeah, share a little story for the audience so we can dialogue a little bit more.
Yeah, so I consult in a certain area of startups, primarily the beta. So when people are using a beta, like they're using a software and they want a group of beta, so I'll go in and consult on how to lay out the beta, and at that stage, who should they reach out to try out their product, how to get the best feedback, how to get the best communication. That's really what I work with. That's how I got connected here, and did my contract work with X, was because of the beta here. And so one of the things that I think I've seen people struggle with, and my first struggle with launching, is people not having a journey map fully planned out. They just sort of have it in their head and they don't communicate well. You should really have like a journey map or a roadmap, depending on what companies like to use it either way. So the journey map, roadmap gives you a really good idea of each stage that you're going to be trying to move to, right? Is that, are you at MVP stage? Are you just raising money? Are you beta testing? Are you at a soft launch? Are you at a hard launch? Like, where are you in that? Are you going in that stage next? And making sure that your team is on board and understanding that this is an important date that we have to make this one. So one of the things that I struggle with is overextending myself and thinking that I can launch earlier, and it stresses me out, and I end up not being 100%. I can't show up at 100% for other things that I need to do. So I've really had to try to learn, if I think I can do this in 3 weeks, I'm probably going to need to double that. And that's currently what I just went through. I thought the end of the year is going to be slow for me. There's a lot of things that I'll be able to just kind of coast into and ease into, because there's a product that I'm launching and a platform that was in beta. And so I thought, oh, I even said it. I said we're going to launch on Black Friday. And if you notice, we're in January and I have not even launched it. But the reason is because I didn't, I was so controlling on this project, because it's my baby, because everybody here at X that was waiting and on the wait list for this, they're going to be waiting to see what it is. And we've been using beta testers. And so I was like, I can't have it be something, whatever. So I just took way too much on myself. And when I ended up having some personal issues with, like, as I mentioned earlier, with the miscarriage that went on, no one was able to step in and do my part. So I think that's where people will have some issues with launch, is they won't plan for unforeseen circumstances that could come in. That could be financial, it could be health, it could be something personal, it could be professional. But you've got to give yourself a cushion, a buffer for things to go wrong that you could fix, so that you can actually launch in the way that you would like. And I see people that just go, oh, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just get it out. I agree with that. I think there's a harmony between you. It's just, it's never going to be perfect. So just get it out, and putting out something that's really janky, right? Like, if it's too janky, and I was going to use another word, so janky is what you're going to get, because I don't want to swear. So if it's really janky, then you don't get another shot with a lot of people. They just go, ooh, no, no, thank you. But if you put something out that's, decent, and you're open and you're saying it's not perfect, but we want your feedback, and we're excited to build in public, then you have some room. So I do agree that, maybe not always launching, don't get stuck in perfection paralysis, but also don't be so, fast to launch because you're worried that somebody else is about to, or you've got to compete or be the first one out there, that you put out just a terrible product or software or service that people just won't give you a second chance on. And that's definitely something I did last year and ended up just having to abandon the entire idea altogether and say, I mean, I can't even do it at all. So mine was something here on the platform called the Creator Classroom, based off of Twitter Spaces. And the homework that I didn't do is I had asked some people to be a part of it, and this will take less than 60 seconds. I'd asked some people to be a part of it without understanding the dynamics. I thought all of these people are in each other's spaces every day. I just assumed they all got along. I was like, oh, I guess they're all friends. This was a life lesson in my autism, not realizing social cues, and two, the politics of the platform. So I invited a bunch of these people to be a part of this beta and to launch this platform called the Creator Classroom, where people would come and teach. And, we're still doing that. But I was supposed to launch it here on this platform with communities. And guess what happened? Communities completely stalled out when Elon came. So a lot of you may not know this, but communities was about to launch a ton of features, like some cool AF stuff. It was really cool, like badges and, video capabilities and like the ability to watch a video together and show reactions. And there was so much because I worked with the research team at the time. And I built my entire plan around what I was watching them launch. And so a good lesson is sometimes like you cannot build your plan on someone else's plan, because if it's faulty on their side, then you have to completely pivot. And that's what you were talking about, Yohan, earlier. I heard you say pivoting is so instrumental. So for me, I had to completely abandon ship on that. I had to say it's not going to be able to be launched on um, X, and I had been promoting that for about 6 months. 6 months, I was like, "This is the date. We're gonna launch on Twitter." And when Elon took over, communities didn't add any of the features. None of the things went forward, and I had to just jump ship and say, "We're done on that. I'm not gonna give any time to that." And I pivoted, and now, we're relaunching Creator Classroom, and Emaz, my client turned co-founder down there, and I are launching that. And it's been great because it actually freed me up to work on the two softwares that we're currently about to launch within this next year. So, Emaz, I don't know if you would like to pop up as well. We were talking about Yohan, it's your space. So if you want to tell him what we were talking about, because he's been in this for 30 years in the startup community and exited and also been bought out and lots of things. So I
Yeah,
think he
you're
would have
right
a
on
good
time
perspective.
because the next segment is audience interactions. I definitely want to hear from some of you listeners.
Oh, that's perfect.
So right on time, Emaz. Definitely. If you guys want to participate, share some stories, some insights, anything, this is the time to do that. This is a room where we all come together and fireside chat. Like, this is not an easy journey. I keep saying it today, and I really want to hear from all of you.
Just a quick reset to the room, just for the recording. Welcome to new listeners. This is the Founders Hub, episode 1, where we're talking about navigating startups and takeoffs. We're here with Yohan, our host, and Kimberly and GoChrisGo. We have a few speakers here talking, and we're discussing now some of the challenges that we've encountered coming into this whole startup, beginnings of a startup, and also opening it up to discussion now with the people in the audience. So we're jumping over to Emaz and then moving over to primates and then two
We
trees.
we can go to primates. Emaz just got a call and he'll be right back.
Hey guys, hope
Primates,
you're
you're
well.
up next,
This
Ken.
is meant to be a freaking excellent space. Like, excellent. To be honest, you guys need a room of 1,000 people listening. This is value. This is just savage. Absolutely love it. Brilliant. You know, builders talking about how to advise other builders and also founders, going through the trials and tribulations, because it's true. Every single one of founder, Web3, Web2, whatever you're doing, you're going through it. And you guys are talking absolute, truth and really raw. So I bloody love this. And of course we'd have Yohan and GoChrisGo and Kimberly on the stage. It's amazing. So I've really enjoyed being in the crowd listening. And my brother, GoChrisGo, has been a very good friend of mine for, say, probably 6 months, 7 months now, brother. It's been excellent, being working alongside you, building my primates project out in many adaptable manners, let's just say. It's been great, and that's where I'm reminiscing with everything you guys are talking. I've been through a lot of trials and issues, and doing a startup. Almost, I've taken over a project that was basically rugged. I derugged my primates. I joined as a community member, worked up as a mod, then to community manager, and now the owner. And in the last 4 months, I've just turned it around. I suppose hopefully I'm doing it correctly. But going through those trials and tribulations, starting with no money, and just utilizing our community and the community's support, but also creativity to then drive where we can get to. Fantastic. I think more and more founders need to be listening to you guys, and I'm so glad this is on episode 1, because I want to be listening to episode 100 as well.
No, thank you for that. And so my goal is to do 52 this year. So
Let's go. I'll hold you
hold me
to
to
it.
that, y'all.
Done.
Hold me
And
to that.
we'll see you at 104 then in 2 years' time. Done. No? Lovely.
All right,
Let's
season
go.
2 coming at you.
It's got to be
Okay.
done. You're impactful. So, and your voice, and as well as Kimberly as well, your voices are very very clear, all very, very concise, and you can hear the passion, and you can hear that you've been through it, and you're here for the guidance. You're not here for, oh, now fund me. No way. Where's the support? That's the value. That's what Web3 is all about. I think take the money out of the equation, and unless you've had no money in any of this stuff, you're not going to realize that either. I think you girls and Chris, you're coming from absolute rawness from the ground up in a way. You're really talking about real builders, not, self-funding or like big funding. And I've just made it success. I've not made $2 million, but I started with 2 million as well. So, that sort of story. It's absolutely amazing. So I look forward to many, many more.
Appreciate that. Appreciate it. Okay, Cyrus. Just before, can you guys raise your hand so we can follow who's next? I'm trying my best. Cyrus, fire away, honey.
Yeah, the thing is that when it comes to this whole struggle, there's actually, everybody sees like all the, say for example, Instagram and Facebook and WeWork and all those, like, oh, everything was just like a linear path for them where they just went through and everything went good. Look, if you have Apple Plus, look at We Crashed. That will give you like a true base story on what actually happened. And there were so many challenges before they even got to the first location. That for me is like inspiring as much. Same thing if you look at like Instagram, how they started. They didn't just create, oh, we're gonna just create the app where we can upload pictures, like, and code. No, they created an application where they had like literally everything, video, whatever. That didn't work. They backtracked, tried again until they literally did it. And if you look into all the big companies, there isn't a linear path. They always like struggle so much, and that's the thing that everybody like some way erase. So the only thing that people see is like, you know what, they just got everything silver handed on a silver plate and just skyrocket. No, that's not how it works. If I just looked at the thing that I'm creating with this whole AI that will make business save time with customer relationship part, the only struggle that I have had is that when I'm gonna like ship it. And what I learned throughout all the consultant things that I have worked for companies and everything is that always create a plan where you say this will be version 1.0 and stick to that plan. It's so easy for a developer to say, just this more. If Facebook would have done that, where Facebook is now, they would never have launched. but they just launched something that, this works, let's try it out and feel the market and see if this works. And if it's worked, great, then we can just continue, because that will give you like some sort of hints on, is this the correct time to do it, is it the right market fit and everything. So that's how I see it, and I just stuck to the whole plan, like strictly, this is version 1.0, I will ship it after that, or yeah, we will ship it after that, and then we will see if there needs to change something or add something. But creating something that is perfection, that will just lead to one more month, and then all of a sudden you just get like this tunnel vision where, you know what, you might lose interest because it will never get ready. So that's the struggle that I have, what I know, like the other companies I work for, like this is the problem they see. I felt, when I'm going to create this, I'm not going to jump into that struggle, because I just put up a plan saying, this is where it's going to be, this is the feature it's going to be, ship it. And that's like the struggle that I have.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Cyrus. Just to add to that, perfectionist. I think I struggle with that myself. I don't know how many of us in this audience probably struggle with that. Being a visionary, and I put myself in that category because I'm more of an artist first, and so I can see everything clearly mapped out in my head. And I remember the first build that you guys actually can see the first version in the app stores, right? I hated it. When I tell you, I detested the damn thing, because what I had in my vision, it was not that. Yeah, it functioned. And I know that they say we have to build an MVP just to get it out there, but it just was so bad in every way, not just the design, that I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna pull it, because that perfectionism inside of me was like, listen, I know that I want it to look this way, but it also needs to be functional. And I think because the functionality of the back end for us to collect data wasn't there, it gave me a reason to like hone it in. And I learned a skill set that I didn't know I had. And I've never done UX UI designs. And I was like, boom, I created the entire 64 screens in less than 2 days on XD. I'm telling you, the things you have to do when you are bootstrapping. Literally, I pulled my what's the word they say? Pull your bootstraps up, and I just got the shit done. And so version 2, I can't actually wait for you guys to see it, because I'm actually very proud of it. It has my signature on everything, but I've learned in the process to let go of the perfectionism and focus heavily on functionality and getting the damn thing out there. So yeah, go ahead, Kimberly.
Yeah, I was going to add to that. As people continue to grow in their journey, we talked the other day about how to choose your right team. That is so essential. Different people are going to struggle with different things. Some people it'll be the funding. Some people it'll be the execution. Some people it'll be the timing. Some people it'll be that perfection. For me, I too, you and I are similar, Johan. If my product doesn't look like I want it to from a UX UI perspective, I won't let it go. But I benefit from having a partner that has worked at Facebook, Atlassian. He's over at Tender right now in like senior levels of UX UI. So I do have that side. And then my client Emaz is a, multi-million dollar app developer and has exited a couple times, and he builds. So I do have a team that is able to say, to pull that together. And then my internet husband, if you guys have met him, Nicholas, in the last 3 years, Nicholas taught himself content design and now is an official content designer. He doesn't just do graphic design and mock-ups. He actually works for an Amazon company, Blink, doing content design and UX UI. So when I said, Nicholas, you know me. You've known me for 3 years. You've designed a bunch of my shows used to have flyers, like legit flyers, not just like a little, two people on a photo. It was like an actual flyer, if anybody remembers Feel Good Friday. And I said, you know my style. And the company that we are launching is called Fusion. It's a mix between the flower fuchsia, which is my favorite flower and color, and then Fusion. And I'm not going to go into the company or anything like that. It's not important. But we have a level of things. So there's Fusion Flow, there's Fusion Grow, things like that, right? So my brain expands like Cyrus was saying, Instagram. I was one of the first beta testers of Instagram. It had so much stuff that it was like all over the place. And I think Johan, you'll appreciate this. What happened with Instagram, and I think some of us, we don't let our visions pivot with what, like, a gold mine of what do you call it? The beta testers will offer us at times. It can be your downfall if you can't pivot and you won't let go of this. Oh, no, it had to be this one thing. You can always go remake that other thing. But if you are in the middle of a product and you're the beta testing and then moving to market, start showing you that people really like using this thing for this particular thing, I would just pivot to that. So with Instagram, really what happened was Instagram was supposed to be this completely different thing, and photographers took it over. So those of us that were in the first beta, a lot of us were photographers, and mom bloggers and different things like that. So we just started posting, and we just started posting every day, all day. And what they started to realize was this is an Instagram. People want to post in the moment and just share everything. So as time went on, they dropped off a bunch of areas that now have a lot of what they wanted. A lot of the ideas that they wanted are now back in because they have Meta money. Meta bought them and then they got the money from Meta. So actually, the vision has come full circle. Mosuri, Adam, somebody I know personally, and Sinjin, my partner as well, he is somebody whose vision has come full circle. And so I would say don't be so married to your idea that you lose sight of this gold mine of what's actually happening in front of you. But then on that side of what Johan said, sometimes pulling something might have you even see something even bigger. So with this Fusion software, we were supposed to launch by TechCrunch, but one of the things is I did I liked how it looked. It's gorgeous because Nicholas and Sinjin pulled it off with Emaz and some other developers that we have. But there was just something that was missing and it just didn't feel right. So I said, there's no reason to rush. No one's doing what this is. So I think we're fine. We literally don't have a competition with it. So I said, let's hold on. And I said, I think what we should do is do like what Cyrus just said. All these things. I mean, all of these ideas came into my brain. And here's what ended up happening is I stalled myself. So this kind of speaks to the last segment. I stalled myself because I pulled it because I saw the vision of what it could be. And in reality, I just should have launched the software because it can grow into what I want it to be. And so that's just it's this balance, like I said before. Like if it's not and if it doesn't look like you want it to, and it doesn't, that UX and that UI is not there, you only get a couple chances with some people, maybe just one. So I really applaud Johan for being like, no, let's pull this back, let's do this. And being a founder is not for the faint of heart. We all know that. And Emaz also, I'm glad he's here. He can attest to the way our conversations around even what we're building together have gone. And so the other day I said, I finally have it. Because you'll have these moments, if you're a true visionary, you'll have these moments where the floodgates open and you can see the picture clearly. And you understand exactly how all the pieces are going to go and how they need to align. And so I told him, I said, get ready. Because I said, once you show me the product and I get to look at it, then I know me. It's gonna fly open and everything's gonna make sense. And they showed me the little, mock-up, not the mock-up, but the actual thing. He's got it put together. And I was so inspired that it was like my brain couldn't sleep and all the ideas were flying out and it was all on the paper. And so when I finally got to share it with them, my best friend and also partner, Nicholas, was like, I was not expecting that. Holy crap. And so I really think we're limiting ourselves, to land my plane here. We limit ourselves sometimes on both sides. Either we limit ourselves because we want the big picture right now and we won't put the thing out unless we have the really big picture, or we're not willing to pull something back. We're not willing to pull something back because we're worried about somebody going, oh, that failed. So we leave it up and then it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths and you don't get another chance with investors. Maybe you don't even need investors, like Yohan said before. There's actually a blessing to not having to have investors involved sometimes. So I'm really happy about you doing that, Yohan. I'm so happy that you shared that experience about um, you pulling it down and then learning that you actually had this other talent in UX and UI. Because I think sometimes these are born of the moments where we're not happy with what's there. And so when we go and try to figure it out ourselves, that's when we go, oh, I think I know this. I think I'm pretty, this looks pretty damn good. And then getting to the place where I'll end is as you go further in your journey as a founder, that's when you get to a place where you can hire team members that align with you so perfectly that your vision comes out naturally from their work. So like Emaz, he knows what I want things to look like. He knows what I want things to sound like. Sinjin's going to help me with that. Our graphic designer, our UX designer, he knows what it's going to look like. And when they showed me the mock-up, I was like, yep, that, and all I showed them was a couple pictures and a couple of things. There's one place, and we can laugh about this, Emaz, but there's one place on the mock on the little thing that he showed me that says "Waiting for Kim." So the tagline of the thing is "Waiting for Kim," and I was like, okay, I'll do my part now. So I'm excited about this. I'm glad more people are coming in.
You caught that subtle hint, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it was Bearded Priest that was waiting patiently. Sorry about that. Yeah, definitely speak if you need to. I don't know. I saw the hand put down. I'm not sure if you still want to speak.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, host. Kimberly, thank you so much. I have been following you. Oh my God. I've been following you from space to space, just to each and every space that you're speaking. We're learning different things. This is Beatrice from South Africa. The question I wanted to ask you, just listen to spoke on it, but I would like you to maybe shed some more light, even other speakers, if you can, please. When it comes to to starting up, most of us sometimes we want to go at it alone. But you mentioned something when it comes to starting up and picking a team, and not wanting to do it alone. The importance of just picking a right team to go with you along the way. So yeah, please, I really appreciate on that.
This is Johan's first Founders Hub
No, no,
episode
no.
1. Do you want to?
He asked you,
Okay, I
girl.
was just
I'll
gonna
come
check
right
in.
after
I
you.
always love to check
Yeah,
in
yeah.
as a co-host. Okay, so I'll try to just wrap this quickly. I know that Chris got a call, and I actually have one as well from a 911 client I just got, and I'll be right back too. But here's what I'll say. You have to have the same values and the same mission. And if you can keep the values together, I think that you're in a much better place. So yes, talent matters. All of those things matter. But I think it's really, really important that you understand that you're all there for the same mission. Like the mission is what's important to everybody. They value that the end product is more important than their paycheck. The end product is more important than status. The end product is, are we wanting to make an impact? And so, what I would say is finding a team that aligns with your mission, because what's going to happen is conflict is going to arise. It just happens. Differences of opinions are going to arise. If you're on the same page with values and the mission, then you can say, okay, is this conflict something that is a core conflict, like the core value conflict, and we're just not going to see eye to eye and this is where we part? Or is this just something where it's like we disagree every now and then, we get on each other's nerves, or maybe, you have a time management issue and you can work through that and that's okay. Um, that's fine. Your talent and your passion for the mission is still there, and I'm willing to stay in business with you, and we can make that work. You'll know the difference because if you're on if everybody's on the same plan and they're on the same mission, then you're less likely to have those bigger falling outs, right? The conflict, like I'm telling you, it's going to come eventually. It is either with an investor or a co-founder or people who use the app, whatever it is, vendors, whatever your world is. And what you have to learn is to get comfortable with uncomfortable. Like you have to get so comfortable that uncomfortable is just like another day. Like it's just another Friday. Like, I have to have an uncomfortable talk with an investor. What's new? Oh, I got to tell someone that I didn't like that design. Yep, easy. I got to tell this person they didn't do as good a job on the technical writing. Yep, I'm fine doing that. So making sure that you understand that you have emotionally intelligent people on your team, that they can communicate in a way that is effective, and that you can communicate with them and they can communicate with you. And lastly, I would say people that are willing to put in just as much into what you're doing. Like they have to have just as much at risk, or else it's not really going to work out. They'll just leave you. They'll if they go find something new, shiny, object syndrome, they'll be off on another project because maybe that's, more fun or it looks bigger. But at the end of the day, people that you can build with and evolve with. So if you've met someone and they don't seem like they're people who evolve, they don't learn easily, they don't change, then that's going to be hard as you go on your journey with them, because you may not get them to change within the time periods that you need and to be on board with you. So I would say values, and then the second part to that, as I see Johan's hand go up, that's so hard to say. I saw Yohan girl. And so I had to do it. It was just in me. It was just in me. I'm sorry.
Hold on.
So basically the other side is making sure that you don't over or under fulfill or under fulfill your team. So you need fulfillment of each position, right? For delegation purposes. If it's like, say you're doing an app, you need a good developer. And if that developer can't do it all, make sure that they have good backup, and be open to that. Be open to the developer saying, I just can't get all of that done by this time, but I have someone I trust. The more you trust the person, then you can say, okay, I can delegate that you're going to bring on another developer and get that done. Make sure that you have, like the team I was talking about, good, if you need UX UI, you've got someone that you can trust. They've been doing that and you're in a good place with them, and you know that they can see your vision. And then if you're in a place with your founder, because a team is different than your founder. So if you're co-founding, that's different than the support team around you, right? So there's the founders, either the founders, one or three of you, one, two, or three. Maybe there's a couple more, but I would say getting into big numbers of founders is a mistake. Too many cooks in the kitchen kind of thing. So maybe you and a co-founder, and then your team. And your team needs to understand their place, and find a co-founder that's okay sharing their role. Sometimes as a co-founder, I know that I'm in that support role, right? Like, as I'm a co-host in this space today, Yohan is the host. She is in that lead position. I'm here in support. So I need to know my role. That's why I ask, hey, is it okay if I go first? And she's like, yeah. So we communicated on that. Make sure that you understand with your co-founder sometimes that maybe the person next to you in the co-founder seat, they may be the A role for a little while you guys go through funding, because they know how to do pitches. But then when it comes time to interact with your beta group and the communication of your team, that's what you're really good at. So then you're going to step up into that place. So you'll go through seasons where you rotate, where different people in your team will have their time to shine, where they'll have their time to really show the essence of who they are. So as long as you have that common thread of what the mission is, you share a good value system with each other, and you're not so far off, then I think it makes conflict resolution a much easier task. And then just a good work ethic with your team. Find people with good work ethic. That's going to be essential to making those deadlines and those timelines to launch. So you're not waiting and then everyone's like one person's throwing off everybody else. If the person that's got the designs or the mock-ups aren't doing that, then the UX guy can't look at everything and say what works. The writer can't look and write to what they need to write to. The person who's going to be marketing, they have nothing to start working on. So your team is delayed by one person. So you want to be very clear that everybody is very good at fulfillment and execution as well, and that you're good as a leader by example. So that's just kind of like roughly what I would add. And I see Go Chris Go's back and Yohan, so you're in good hands while I take my phone call and then I'll be back.
Yeah, no problem. So I actually want to add on to all of that wonderful information from a different perspective, though, because here's the thing. Getting a team, guys, I think your question was more about how to go about it, right? One of the things I had to really hyper focus on was my management style and what I wanted to do. Was I trying to be laissez-faire? Because building a team, like Kimberly said, is so very important in the beginning stages. Because when you essentially have somebody come on, they essentially are in a marriage with you at this point. And so for me, the funding was the issue. So I think for me, the difficulty there, and I don't know if this is really where your question was, is how to get them, because learning and understanding that the vision has to be clear, because a lot of the times people think that it's the idea that's going to sell people. It's not. You are. And if your team does not believe in you, in your execution, I'm telling you, you will struggle. So right now, actually, it's so profound right now, the question that you have, because I've literally gone through the entire year of having to understand and work around this and become a better manager myself. Obviously, it's not the first time I've managed a team, but understanding how to manage tech. I don't know, Emaz might understand what I'm saying, because techies tend to be really to manage. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yep.
They get it. They get into their heads and they're very technical, and it's like, you know what? Let me rein it in. I have 2 team members. I love them to death, but they're constantly seeming like they're arguing. And understanding how to like break that up was so goddamn difficult. But I did it seamlessly, and then they love each other and admire each other now. But like it is hard, and sometimes too many cooks in the kitchen can actually be. I know the idea is, let me build a team, let me have this person, that person. Sometimes more is actually detrimental. So picking the really strategic people, and I want to hone in on picking, because a lot of the time funding is an issue. A lot of the time networking is an issue. We don't necessarily have the people that in our network to do the things that we need. And that was actually my problem. One of my biggest issues was lack of network, lack of knowing who can do this. And I had to like reach out and utilize social media in multiple different ways to find my team, and convincing them that I'm the person to back. And they love the idea. The idea for them was an easy sell. So once I understood I had to actually sell this, me, the person I look in the mirror every day, that was the pinnacle change of how I structure when I work with a team, because anything that happens, they definitely need to respect you. And so even today, adding a CTO, my lead developer had a little pushback, I think, and it's always about making sure that everybody feels rewarded and learning how to use your equity. I do want to go into that in another room, so I'm not going to go into all of that today, because understanding equity distribution at this early stage when you are picking your team is another thing. Because people need to feel like their time, because I don't have the finances to pay salaries. I would love to have hundreds of thousands of dollars that I could just pour into the early stages. That's just not my story. Okay. And my story was trying to sell somebody to do nothing, to do a lot of things with nothing, because equity at this moment is worthless. A lot of people see it as that. A lot of technical people see it as that. So being able to sell you an execution of what your idea is going to be pinnacle when you're picking your teams. So if there's any questions, definitely, shoot away. Hey, Max, I didn't even see you there. How are you doing? Emaz. I think they're on a call together. So
No,
Emaz.
no, no, I'm not on that call. I saw a hand, so. Um,
But I completely agree with you, and some of the things that Kim said too. Um, I think I think this is true in all of tech, even if if you're in management in some corporation, and it's especially true if you're a founder. Your job as a founder or any kind of leader in tech is really to remove roadblocks from the people underneath you. And I know that sounds kind of obvious, but that's absolutely key. And if that means if you are a small startup, and if your job, as the founder, if you're the tech person, for example, like I am in my case, I mean, I've got Kim as a co-founder, but if I was bootstrapping this or if I had a different co-founder, I'm still the tech guy, and I'm doing most of the code at the moment until at a later stage when we hire a team. So if I were the founder by myself, doing all the code and beginning to launch and get a team together, it would still be my job, number one job, even before the technology, to lead and manage the rest of the team and remove roadblocks. That's number one. Why? Because you can always delegate. You can and should. So if I have another team behind me, um, my number one role is to remove roadblocks and delegate when I have to. Absolutely key. And the other thing is, don't ever, in I think Johan mentioned this, don't ever get completely caught up in how great your technology is. I don't care how great it is. I mean, you've heard me say this before, and I'm going to keep saying it, and investors know this. They don't care how, there's a lot of great technology out there. There's a million great ideas. There's a million people that have great technology. None of that means a damn thing if you can't execute. Execution is everything. And execution is not just your technology. Execution is having a team that functions, it's moving the ball forward every day, overcoming roadblocks, and keeping it moving. Execution is everything. Don't ever forget that.
Cyrus, sorry about that. You
No worries, no worries at all. The thing is, I'm gonna hop on the thing Emaz said was with execution is everything. Yeah, because as a developer myself, I've led, I actually like tech lead and everything. I led teams, and people that have worked in my team, they know that when I take the lead as a tech lead, they know that I expect things from them, and they know if they can't live up to those expectations, they will literally say, I can't do that. And that's like a team, that's a good management way to have, to know that, okay team, this is the expectation, this is what we're going to do. If there will be any roadblocks, we need to know it now and not figure that out later. But that's like all to the management part, to figure out why is the roadblocks, why do we need to why haven't we executed this whole thing like in week 2 and now in week 6 and we still haven't done it. And the whole thing is like, every developer know that when you have somebody come up with like an idea and say this is going to be great, there's literally a saying that goes, if you have an idea you have nothing. If you don't have like something concrete, you have like nothing to build on. And that is a good thing to see when it comes to this whole execution part, because I have read a lot about how investors invest in, as what you said, Johan, like they don't literally like invest in, mostly they don't invest in your ID, they invest in you as a person. They need to know, are you gonna crack as soon as the smallest pressure, or are you gonna be like the Airbnb guys that the investor literally told them, you're like cockroaches, you never die. They just continue, fail after fail, continue grinding, and then eventually the investor said, we know that you're never gonna give up, so yes, here's the money, go and do it. Without that consistently and never give up, they wouldn't have been the Airbnb that was today. So that's the whole thing. Like, they investor see what kind of person are you. Are you the one that's going to crack, or are you the one that's going to continue? The smallest roadblock, you will figure it out how to push forward. That's an important trait to have, as when it comes to like a founder, CEO, and everything. To when you are creating, like, so to see that, okay, this is really this is the trait that I had. This is the problems we went. This is how I fixed it. Showing that will give the person confident, like you won't give up. The smallest roadblock, you won't give up. So that's what I wanted to say.
Oh, can I
No,
just? I'm sorry. Can I just jump in and give applause on that? You don't fail until you stop trying, and this is what investors are looking for. I mean, their ideas and tech people are everywhere. The magic they're looking for is the people, like Cyrus said, like Yohan has said. That's the whole deal.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And because I'm aware of the time, we're actually hard stopping at 8. I definitely want to say this has been a really great and insightful discussion. I really want us to hone in on some of the key takeaways that we've covered today. As you guys had a little insight into some of our founders, moments. We've talked about essential tools, overcoming like launch obstacles, just in general, right? And even some of you shared some things internally for you and being inspired by some of our hosts today. So I just want each and every one of you who has a mic the opportunity until 8 to come up, share your thoughts, and let's wrap this up. And I'll see you guys. If you haven't set your reminder for next week, it is Friday at 6 p.m. I have put it in the Jumbotron and the chat box. Definitely tap the reminder button, and I'll see y'all next week while we wrap up. Chris, would you like to go first?
Yeah, just reiterating on what's already been said. The piece about giving up and how essential it is to be able to not be able to say that the round is over. And then the second piece, just navigating through change and through the personal changes of other people is a really important skill to develop, especially when you're going to start delegating work. So like the navigation of like, when something is wrong and directing a question rather than like, assuming it's a blame is really important as you start trying to figure out like what really happened in things instead of almost like projecting something into the situation. And so as a leader, when you start developing those capabilities, you really start kind of finding the deeper side of you that is what makes it possible for you not to give up. Because sometimes it's not even like that somebody just actually gives up. It's that they just don't have the skills to even keep going forward, even if they tried. And sometimes those skills can be interpersonal skills. And sometimes that creates the breakdown of a team, and then investors can basically just feel that you can't lead this team. And I speak on this from the aspect of like when I was in the Air Force, I led teams that fixed $250 million aircraft every day and put them on the sky. And I would be the guy who did the final signature and said, okay, this can fly. And so the level of care that it took for me to understand what my team that I was managing was actually feeling and doing that day was crucially important for the feeling that I would have in the end when I would put lives on these airplanes. And so the cool thing about software is we can start at a much lower spot where you're not putting lives in danger. And that gives you even a higher chance to practice that skill. And because it's so, it's so much more manageable, and anyone can jump into it and start, like with yourself. And then, managing yourself kindly, and then working with one more person and doing the same and extending that kind of empathy and emotion to them, that, to understand that they're also living their own life and going through their own challenges, and they don't only live for your vision. But if they share that vision, like somebody else was mentioning, and you have that same connection to the mission, then you can understand how to navigate and how the capacity to harmonize with each other's skills and capacities and timing, so that you can overcome challenges when the need to be resilient comes.
Yeah, thank you for that. Cyrus, you want to close us out too with any thoughts?
Yeah,
Last
I
thought?
can give like a thing where we have to do this whole thing where it says like, oh, if you feel like you want to give up or something. If you ever feel like you want to give up, remember why you did it at the first place. That is the thing that's like always stuck in my mind. That makes it like I would never give up. No matter what, I will always continue like pushing. If it's for a family, it's for yourself to make a world a better place, remember that every time, because that will be the motivation. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, thank you for that. Emaz and then Dan, and yeah, we'll definitely wrap up after that.
Yeah, I'll be real brief. I'm sorry I missed some of this. I came in a little bit late, but what I've heard is just amazing. The only thing I'll add, as far as giving up and what drives me, I like what Cyrus just said. Of course, your why is absolutely key. But how do I dig deep when things look, kind of bleak? And for me personally, and everyone's built differently, but for me, it's creativity. So that allows me to keep going no matter what the problem is. My What I'm thinking in the back of my head is there's going to be a creative solution here. I've got to find it. It may not be easy to find. It may be super uncomfortable. It may take some time to figure it out, but there's no limit to the depth of your creativity. And that's what allows me to stick through it and just keep driving.
Yeah, thank you. But I just want to take this opportunity to tell each and every one of you, if you have not yet joined the Founders Hub community, definitely tap onto my profile. It's pinned right at the top and join. I'll be announcing a lot of stuff. Share things. Let's help each other grow. Each one teach one, right? As they say. And so thank you all for joining me on the first ever Founders Hub. I definitely want to shout out to my co-host today. Y'all represented. And also Cyrus. He may not have had the co-host badge, but he definitely felt like that. And you too, Emaz. I appreciate every last one of you guys. And stay tuned for next week. We're going to have a fireside chat with just, coding and coffee, right? For next week. It's really just going to be an open dialogue. I really don't tend to want to do this year too much of a teaching room because I believe that we can all teach each other, right? So that way we can learn from each other's stories. So I'm going to play some music until we exit out. See you guys next week. Thanks for being a part of Founders Hub. Subscribe for more empowering content. Keep building your dreams and see you next time.